Cricket is one of the few global sports where authority is absolute. Once an umpire raises a finger or signals a decision, there is no debate that can change the outcome in that moment.
Goes searching and, well, Yasir Shah's done it again.
For more than a century, this authority has been the backbone of the game's integrity. But cricket is also a sport of fine margins, a fraction of an inch, a sound only one person hears, a judgment made in less than a second. And when that judgment is wrong, or even perceived to be wrong, the consequences can echo far beyond a single delivery. Today, we examine moments when pressure, human limitation, and circumstance pushed cricket's authority to its breaking point, not to assign blame, but to understand how the game has been shaped by decisions that could not be undone. Few matches in cricket history carry the weight of the 1999 World Cup semi-final at Edgbaston. Australia and South Africa were evenly matched, mentally and tactically, in what many consider the greatest ODI ever played.
That may have been the difference between a World Cup final berth or nothing.
South Africa, chasing 214, found themselves in familiar territory, close, tense, and under pressure. Lance Klusener played one of the most remarkable innings in World Cup history, dragging his team to the brink of victory. With 9 runs needed off the final over, Klusener struck consecutive boundaries. Suddenly, South Africa needed just 1 run with 4 balls remaining. What followed was chaos, not from poor skill, but from miscommunication. Alan Donald at the non-striker's end hesitated. Klusener sprinted. A desperate throw came in. The ball was collected. Donald was short of his crease.
Africa out, Donald didn't run. I cannot believe it.
The umpires made the correct call. Donald was run out. But the moment exposed something deeper. Under extreme pressure, even experienced players lost clarity, while umpires were forced to deliver a decision that effectively ended South Africa's World Cup. The match ended in a tie. Australia advanced due to Super 6 points. No appeal, no review, no second chance. This was authority in its purest form, correct, cold, and irreversible. The Sydney Test of 2008 is remembered not for brilliance, but for controversy that damaged trust between teams and officials. From the opening days, questionable decisions began to accumulate. Multiple Indian batters were given out in circumstances that appeared inconsistent. Appeals were upheld where replays later suggested doubt. The flashpoint came when Andrew Simons was given not out after replays indicated a clear edge. Moments later, Michael Clarke survived an LBW decision that replays showed would have hit middle stump. India's frustration boiled over when Harbhajan Singh was accused of racial abuse, an allegation later overturned. But the core issue was not a single call, it was a pattern. Players felt the authority of the umpire was no longer neutral. Captains questioned decisions. The match slipped out of control emotionally. India lost the test, but the fallout was global. The ICC reviewed umpiring standards, elite panels were scrutinized, and the push toward expanded technology gained momentum. This match proved that when authority is perceived as biased, even unintentionally, the damage can extend beyond a scorecard. Cricket rarely sees matches abandoned due to crowd behavior. The 2009 ODI in Rajkot was one such rare case, and umpiring authority was central to the breakdown. Sri Lanka were chasing a modest target when a series of umpiring decisions angered the home crowd. Wides, no balls, and LBW calls were met with increasing hostility from the stands. Objects were thrown onto the field. Play was repeatedly interrupted. Security struggled to regain control. The umpires attempted to calm the situation, but authority alone was not enough. Eventually, match officials deemed the environment unsafe. The game was abandoned. No winner, no resolution. This was not about a wrong decision, it was about loss of control. The incident forced cricket boards to reassess crowd management, umpire protection, and emergency protocols. It showed that umpires do not operate in isolation. Authority requires structure, security, and respect, all of which collapsed that day.
The 2016 Test series between South Africa and Australia was fiercely competitive, but it also revealed cracks in the relationship between players and officials. Throughout the series, South African players openly expressed frustration at umpiring inconsistency, particularly in LBW decisions and caught behind calls. Body language changed, appeals became more aggressive, respect visibly eroded. The situation escalated when players were fined for dissent, further fueling the belief that communication had broken down entirely. What made this series significant was not one incorrect call, it was was the loss of trust. When players no longer believe the system is fair, authority becomes fragile. The ICC later emphasized improved dialogue between officials and teams, acknowledging that authority must be respected but also understood. This series highlighted that modern cricket demands transparency, not silence. The introduction of the decision review system was meant to reduce human error. During the 2013 Ashes, it did, but it also created confusion. Hotspot images were unclear, snickometer readings were debated, different umpires interpreted the same data differently. Players reviewed decisions expecting certainty, instead they found ambiguity. One dismissal would be overturned with similar evidence that upheld another. Fans and players alike questioned whether technology had truly solved the problem. The Ashes series made one thing clear: technology does not remove subjectivity, it shifts it. Umpires were no longer judged only on instinct, but on how they interpreted data under pressure. Authority had evolved, but not simplified. The 2019 World Cup final at Lord's was meant to be cricket's crowning moment. Instead, it became a lesson in how authority can follow the law perfectly and still leave the game divided. With England chasing New Zealand's total, the match reached a breaking point in the final over. A throw from the deep deflected off Ben Stokes' bat and raced to the boundary. The umpires awarded 6 runs. At the time, the decision followed their interpretation of the playing conditions, but replays later showed that under the law, only 5 runs should have been given. That single run changed everything. The match ended in a tie. The super over ended in a tie. England were declared champions based on boundary count. New Zealand had not lost. England had not truly won. The umpires were not blamed for poor judgment. They were blamed for exposing a rule that had never been stress tested at the highest level. Within months, the ICC changed the law. This was not authority failing. This was authority revealing that the system itself was incomplete. Technology was supposed to remove doubt from cricket. The 2019 World Cup semi-final between India and New Zealand proved that it cannot remove controversy. India collapsed early, losing top-order wickets under heavy cloud cover. Several dismissals, especially LBWs, were marginal. Reviews were taken, some stood, others were overturned. What angered players and fans was not the decisions themselves, but the margin of error. Ball tracking projections, umpires' call, predicted impact zones. India were eliminated, but the debate dominated headlines long after the match ended. Was the technology precise enough? Should umpires still be given final authority? Or had cricket created a system where responsibility was blurred? This match showed that technology does not replace trust, it depends on it. And when trust is shaken, authority feels weaker, not stronger.
Decision became a defining moment, not just for the match, but for the conversation around umpiring accountability. A crucial LBW decision late in the game was overturned after review, despite ball tracking suggesting minimal contact with the stumps. The on-field call was questioned. The review process was questioned even more. Players from both sides expressed confusion. Commentators debated the technology. Fans questioned consistency. What made this incident different was the response. The ICC publicly reviewed the umpiring process. Officials were assessed. Transparency increased. For the first time, authority did not end at the final decision. It continued into evaluation. This match marked a shift. Cricket began to acknowledge that protecting authority does not mean shielding it from scrutiny. The India-England Test series in 2021 was intense, closely fought, and emotionally charged. But one moment shifted focus away from cricket entirely. A disputed decision led to visible dissent from players. Gestures were made, words were exchanged. The umpire penalized the team immediately. The decision itself faded into the background. What remained was the enforcement of discipline. Fines were issued. Warnings were given. Debate centered on behavior, not accuracy. This match highlighted a critical balance in modern cricket. Umpires are not just decision makers, they are enforcers of conduct. Authority here was not about being right or wrong, it was about maintaining order. And cricket made it clear, questioning authority publicly now carries consequences. The 2023 Ashes series reignited old rivalries, but the Lord's Test produced a moment that summed up modern umpiring perfectly. A controversial stumping dismissal sparked outrage. England believed the dismissal violated the spirit of cricket. Australia insisted it was within the laws. The umpires stood by the decision. What followed was not chaos, but conversation. Former players debated ethics. Officials explained procedures. The ICC defended the ruling without escalation. This time, cricket did not rush to change a rule. It accepted that laws and spirit can collide, and that authority must sometimes stand firm. The match became a symbol of maturity. Cricket no longer seeks perfection, it seeks clarity, fairness, and consistency, even when everyone disagrees. Cricket umpires operate in an impossible space, expected to be perfect in a game defined by imperfection. These moments were not about villains or incompetence. They were about pressure, interpretation, and the limits of human judgment. Every controversy pushed the game forward. Every mistake forced reform. Every disputed decision reshaped cricket's future. Authority in cricket has not weakened, it has evolved. And as long as the game is played by humans under pressure in front of millions, these moments will continue to define its history.